"Aren't you Monster Kody?" So I said, "Yeah, I'm Monster Kody. I'm A-Tray Gangster. What's up?" And the guy reaches in his coat. He has a pea coat, but he can't get through the gun apparently because it's the button. And when he reaches in his coat, Lil Hunchy runs and leaves me. When I look towards Lil Hunchy to the left and look back, the guy shoots me in the stomach. Shoots me in the stomach, point blank range, no closer than you and I are, and blows me against the wall. And the impact of the bullet, it doesn't really hurt me, but it surprises me. And the force of it blows me against the wall. And just out of survival, out of the instinct, I rush towards him, try to grab the gun, and he shoots me in the left hand, and my hand hits the wall like it's blown off, where I don't look at my hand. So now I know it's time to go. I turn around and try to run, he shoots me in the back. The bullet that hits me in the back knocks me down on my face, and I'm getting up on my knees, and the guy kicks me in the stomach, kicks me over, so I have no alternative but to put my leg up, just try to shield a shot, and he shoots me 3 times in the left leg, and then they run off. Well, Lil Hunchy, he ran the entire block, and he comes back, and he asks me, "What happened?" "Well, damn fool, I'm shot."
What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Sauce KD, and I'm back with another video. You feel me? You know what I'm saying? This time we got some. I don't even know what this is, but I know this shit finna be hectic. So you know what I'm saying? Grab everything you need. You know what I'm saying? So we finna get right into this video. I ain't finna waste no time. 15-second intro. Let's go.
This episode, I'm gonna detail the story of Fred Hill from the Rolling 60 Crips. Now, the first Big Snoop Dogg wasn't the rapper from Long Beach. It was a well-known Rolling 60 Crip OG named Fred Hill, aka Big Snoop Dogg.
Okay.
Fred was born around 1958 and would later go by the name Snoop Dogg. Fred would first live on the east side of South Central until around 1967, where he would move on 6th Avenue in the Rolling 60s turf. Now, Fred would gain a deadly reputation in his community. He is an early member, being around during the formation of the Rolling 60s, with him being around 17 in 1975. Some people will even say he'd be the one to come up with the name Rolling 60s. With his commitment to his game, he'd become known as one of the most fierce and deadliest Rolling 60 members of the 70s and the 80s. The 60s,
okay, so he was putting there working, you hear me? Oh, she putting there working.
in the 70s on the west side of South Central and became one of the deadliest gangs in Los Angeles, taking on several rivals like Bloods, the Hoovers, and later several other Crips. By 1979, like we all know, the 60s became locked in a war with another gang, also well known as problematic and a ferocious gang in their area, known as the A-Tray Gangsters. The war got so deadly, bodies began to rack up on both sides. And Fred Hill, aka Snoop Dogg, was a person locked in on that war. He would gain a reputation for shooting at the A-Trays, and even from Monster Kody's book, he was labeled as an elite shooter from the 60s, along with people like Mumbles, Kody Rock, and others. Fred was such a threat, he even would be the one to shoot Monster Kody 6 times, which Monster Kody will go on to admit himself in an interview on Kev Mack's channel. Fred Hill was even had said to call Monster on his hospital bed.
My boy got hit 6 times and lived. How many times 50 get hit? I don't know shit. That boy, he was the first a lot of shit apparently. That man was putting work in.
After he was shot, and allegedly came to the hospital to finish Monster off.
One guy got a beard, a mustache, one guy got a beard, and one guy's clean shaven. But they're not dressed like gang members. I don't see no bulges where they might be armed. So the guy walks up to me and he says, "Aren't you Monster Kody?" So I said, "Yeah, I'm Monster Kody. I'm A-Tray Gangster. What's up?" And the guy reaches in his coat. He has a pea coat, but he can't get through the gun apparently because it's the button. And when he reaches in his coat, Lil Hunchy runs and leaves me. When I look towards Lil Hunchy to the left and look back, the guy shoots me in the stomach. Shoots me in the stomach, point blank range, no closer than you and I are, and blows me against the wall. And the impact of the bullet, it doesn't really hurt me, but it surprises me. And the force of it blows me against the wall. And just out of survival, out of the instinct, I rush towards him, try to grab the gun, and he shoots me in the left hand, and my hand hits the wall like it's blown off, where I don't look at my hand. So now I know it's time to go. I turn around and try to run, he shoots me in the back. The bullet that hits me in the back knocks me down on my face, and I'm dazed. So now,
Bro, the way that mind saying blown against the wall is how they make it seem like people be really blown against the wall when you get shot in the movies. You know what I'm saying? Like, he might talking about blown against the wall. The fuck he hit you with?
I'm getting up on my knees, and the guy kicks me in the stomach, kicks me over. So I have no alternative but to put my leg up, just try to shield a shot. And he shoots me 3 times in the left leg, and then they run off. Well, Lil Hunchy, he ran the entire block, and he comes back, and he asks me, what happened? Well, damn fool, I'm shot. That's what happened.
Fred would later be arrested and do some time for attempt.
Nah, he ain't do that. That man said he ran the whole block, came back, asked him what happened. A block ain't far enough to not hear them gunshots, buddy. You heard the man getting his ass splatted. I feel like, nah, something fishy going on with that.
Murder. Upon his release, Fred went back into the streets, but in the 90s, he worked part-time several years as a gang counselor for the county agency, community youth gang services, schools, alternative residential facilities, and also church programs. But Fred was still an active member of the 60s, and he had the respect and the fear in his hood, with him being aggressive and stern. Some people will call him a bully, and his involvement in the 60s would never stop, even the older he got, with him in the 2000s being in his 40s. Fred was even named in the 60s 2003 Gang Injunction as being one of the leaders of the gang, but Fred's position in the Rolling 60s would later be tested. A woman named Nicole would witness a meeting of the Rolling 60s at an apartment complex located at 6329 South 10th Avenue in Los Angeles on August 25, 2005. Her cousin was a member of the Rolling 60s and had been killed the day before, and the meeting was to discuss his death, and it was called by Fred Hill, who at the time had super OG status. The apartment complex was a well-known gathering place for the Rolling 60s, and Fred told the Rolling 60 members to wear white t-shirts to identify themselves as members of the gang. Nicole said Fred and a man named Little CJ began arguing over the fact that Little CJ had worn a black t-shirt. Fred embarrassed Little CJ in front of everyone. Little CJ later left the apartment complex and returned with a revolver. He fired the revolver twice and hit Fred. Fred tried to cover his face with his hand and was shot in the wrist and the head. Nicole saw Little CJ running away after the shooting, and an ambulance arrived, and Fred was taken to the hospital. Officers followed the ambulance, then interviewed Fred. Fred said Little CJ from 60s was the one that shot him.
Man, see, that's how you know nigga wasn't playing back then. Them man said, I ain't finna reach, I ain't finna try to run, I ain't finna do shit, I'm finna... That man covered this shit. He already knew he was finna get shot in the face.
A television crew for the Telemundo network was taping a Rolling 60s gathering. A cameraman filmed a man fleeing the scene, and the tape showed the fleeing man turning his head when someone called out, CJ. The man ran northbound on 10th Avenue to 63rd Street, then turned eastbound towards 7th Avenue. Detectives viewed the videotape and reported that the fleeing man looked similar to Little CJ. September 15th, 2005. Fred called Detective Martin and told him Little CJ shot him after they got into an argument. Fred said the gang members at the gathering were supposed to wear white t-shirts, but Little CJ wore a black t-shirt. Fred then said that Little CJ came back with a gun after the confrontation, and he was the one who shot him. On September 21st, 2005, Fred called Detective Martin, and Fred was trying to help the detective locate Little CJ. On October 24th, 2005, Fred again called Detective Martin, and Fred said he seen Little CJ in the passenger seat of a tan Camaro in the area of Crenshaw Mall. He would say Little CJ reached under his seat if he was reaching for a gun. Then Fred would then drive off. Fred also told Detective Martin on that occasion that Little CJ lived on 7th Avenue, south of 64th Street, in a gray house. On the same day, Fred went to the police station and viewed a photo lineup. Fred was recorded, and this was later played for a jury at trial. Fred would pick out a man, which was Little CJ, and say he was the shooter. Then he began to cry. On October 27, 2005, around 8:15 p.m., Fred called
Who began to cry? The nigga that pointed out the shooter or CJ?
police, and Officer Munez was called to the area of South 4th Avenue where he encountered Fred. Fred said he'd been traveling northbound on 6th Street where he saw a tan Camaro traveling westbound. Fred said that the man in the passenger seat of that Camaro was the man who shot him. He would also give a description of the shooter. Fred would later tell Nicole, who witnessed him being shot, that she had to go to the police station with him. On November 2nd, 2005.
But I got a question. Do they still do lineups? I ain't heard about nobody getting pointed out in the lineup in a minute.
That day, Detective Martin showed Nicole the same photo lineup that he shown Fred. She would pick 2 people out as possible shooters, and Little CJ.
Oh, my shit to burn. Yeah. Yeah, crispy this bit. We crispy this bit over here. Yo. Finish this video out that I'ma eat. You hear me?
Was one of them. Nicole told detectives that she was sure she could identify the shooter in person. She also said that she was afraid to testify in court. She said at the time of the shooting, she was in the back of the apartment complex and heard gunshots. Then she ran to the front of the building where she saw little CJ running away from the scene. Fred also told Detective Martin that he was afraid to testify. He was worried about the safety of his family and his girlfriend. After expressing this fear to Detective Martin, Fred dropped out of sight and did not contact Detective Martin anymore. Little CJ will be arrested on February 15th, 2006. Police saw little CJ sitting in a car parked in the driveway and approached him and arrested him. Both Nicole and Fred will refuse to testify at little CJ's trial. Fred will recant everything and say he never even knew little CJ and that he never contacted police about anything.
So this nigga, he finna get off. He finna get off. Watch. He definitely finna get off. He what?
Fred will go as far as to saying he never picked little CJ out of a lineup and didn't even remember talking to them in the hospital or on the phone. Fred even continued by saying he didn't remember being in the area of the apartment complex that he was shot in. But even with Fred recanting everything, little CJ would still receive 25 years to life. Little CJ is now 54 years old.
What? Damn. Them folks said, nah, fuck that nigga. You going to jail. You going to jail. Nah, that fucked up though. All seriousness, this real fucked up. Well, I mean, shit, he shot the nigga. Hey.
And is in Solano State Prison. He has been in prison since 2007, where his earliest parole date is 2031. Fred, by many accounts of people, was labeled as a snitch, even after recanting his statements.
Hey, my boy. You feel me? You do get out that motherfucker. I ain't got no smooth. You feel me? But I ain't gonna lie, you been in there so long. My boy, I don't even know. Do you know what a switch is? Yeah, well, then they come out niggas. You know what I'm saying? If he do get out that motherfucker.
But many people still love and respect him as an OG and see him for what he did in the streets, being one of the founders of one of the most known gangs in the world, the Rolling 60 Crips. Fred has been seen on a few channels on YouTube but recently, and he is around 66 years old and still living. This will conclude this episode. If you haven't already, make sure you check out my previous episodes. Don't forget to like.
Nah, that's crazy word. Yeah. My boy, OG, triple OG, or the quadruple OG, he put up right now. Yeah, he's sitting there, fit up, drinking Coca-Cola, smoking a cigarette, whatever, just trying to eat steak or whatever, something. OG probably need to, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm glad he made it out that motherfucker, though. Shit, that might live to, 25? Come on, now. They think a nigga gonna die in that bed. That might stood 10 through the whole joint. You feel me?